Hello everybody, Aaron here with Functional Aesthetics in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So, I apologize, last week I didn't get a video out, was having some problems with my editing software, so the video that I had planned to put out was a continuation of the work that I've been doing with my dad on his mobility issues. I was not able to upload, and I tried several times, just taking too much time. So hopefully this video will upload, and if it does, you'll be watching it, obviously. So anyway, what I want to talk about today is, so I was watching a YouTube video, and there's a guy, I believe his name is Greg Doucette. He has been bodybuilding for 20 years, professional bodybuilder. The guy is definitely ripped, definitely looks like he knows what he's doing. I guess he's been on performance-enhancing drugs for the past several years, but even if you look at his pictures before that, he looks phenomenal. So, I mean, the guy knows what he's doing and stuff. But he put out some videos on the topic of intermittent fasting and talking about how it is equivalent to binge eating and it is a bad idea to do, and how you can get much better results just eating a healthy diet and eating multiple smaller meals a day, the traditional, bodybuilding methodology. And pretty much everything he said, I agree with in the video. There are a couple things, though, that I think that, from my perspective, having done both sides, intermittent fasting for several years and bodybuilding, regular bodybuilding type diets for several years, the pros and cons from my point of view of both of these diets. So my background was that I started lifting after being a long distance runner from the time I was 11 to about 16 years old, and then I injured my lower back and started biking. Then wintertime rolled around, I started lifting weights to stay in shape for the first time. My dad was a powerlifter when he was in the Marine Corps, and so he showed me a basic powerlifting scheme, and I started lifting weights, got hooked on weight training, and started doing that. I didn't know anything about how to eat properly, anything like that. I knew, you got to eat more protein, you might get bigger and stuff, and for a variety of reasons that I won't go into right now, maybe save that for a different video, I ended up developing severe digestive systems, which the doctor said was irritable bowel syndrome. They couldn't really figure out how to fix it, and I couldn't afford to keep on going back to them, so I spent the next 10 years trying to figure out how to fix my digestive system. So wanting to be a personal trainer or work some active sort of job, I knew that I couldn't do that with the state of my health at that time, so I went into the trades, got a degree in heating and air conditioning, and graduated top of my class just because I had nothing else to do other than study because I felt so crappy. And anyway, went down to La Crosse, was working for a training company, and during that time, I spent all my time after the initial just try to eat a lot of food to regain the weight I lost, because I dropped 30 pounds due to my digestive issues. Felt like an old man, creaky joints, the works, like whites of my eyes turned yellow, my tongue swelled up in my mouth, just because it's like you're eating but you're starving. You felt like crap if you ate. If you didn't eat, you felt like you're starving, yada, yada, yada. So I finally decided I needed to get disciplined and actually do some solid research on how to eat properly. And so I would spend my time when I wasn't at work, I'd go down to the library, I'd pick up books on bodybuilding, the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding by Arnold Schwarzenegger, various old bodybuilding books, looked at stuff on the internet to figure out, even stuff not related to bodybuilding, just, digestive health, things like that. Spent a lot of time researching this stuff. I devised a whole, plan for how I was going to eat, had, my macros all split out. I'd eat, 5 to 6 meals a day. I didn't have breaks sometimes, so I'd make up these, I think it was like rice and lentils and eggs mixed together, and I'd fry them, cook them in a pan and then stick them in little plastic baggies, stuff them in my pocket so I could get my extra meals during the day. So things were good, I'd eat just enough to get me to the next meal, and had great energy, but my brain was always in a fog, and I couldn't sleep at night, and so from a physique standpoint, even though I wasn't able to train so much because my stomach still didn't feel that great, so it was kind of on and off and on and off, I was still able to get good body composition just eating a good healthy diet, plenty of vegetables, lean proteins, brown rice, oatmeal, potatoes, sweet potatoes, beans, all that kind of stuff, right? So able to get good body composition. I had heard somewhere that if you're too lean, that you can have digestive issues. So I went down to the university there in La Crosse that has a great kinesiology program. Decided to get myself dunk tank body comp analyzed. You know, you put yourself in the water and stuff, and they do all this things like that, because I heard it is the most accurate way to assess what is your body fat composition. So I was pretty lean. I was 6% body fat. But they said, yeah, you're really lean, but you're definitely not too lean. And so I was like, well, that's out and everything. So just to say that eating a standard bodybuilding diet does work. You're going to get good body composition. It's not unhealthy. However, what I found was that, so I ended up losing that job because of the brain fog and not being able to sleep, and it just affects the way your mentality works and stuff. So I had other issues going on. If your digestive system is working great, you know, standard bodybuilding diet, it's going to work fine for you. So I lost that job, went back to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I was working there for a while. Got another job, fixed servicing appliances for Sears, and ended up losing that job after almost a year as well. Decided, okay, I don't really enjoy the heating and air conditioning to begin with, and obviously I'm not mechanically inclined, not able to do this stuff very well either. So I'm just going to go and work at a grocery store because I know I can do that until I figure out what is going on, how to fix myself. So during that time, I worked really hard and stuff, but I was still struggling with, you know, constipation, sometimes diarrhea, brain fog, all these issues. And this job wasn't even going that well either. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm working at a grocery store, putting out produce on shelves. If I can't handle this job, what other job can I handle? And the lowest point came for me after a couple years there, you know, and I've been doing this bodybuilding thing, you know, and I was very disciplined about getting my meals in all when I needed to get them in and stuff like that. And so, you know, they finally put me out there to push carts in the lot. And this store is a very busy store. So for, you know, 8 hours a day, I'm pushing carts. About every 5-minute intervals, you're pushing 100 to, you know, or more pounds of, you know, 100, 300 pounds of carts, you know, for 8 hours a day, 5-minute intervals. You know, it's a very busy store. You know, we didn't have cart pushers or anything like that. So it's almost like a sport doing this job. And I calculated all my calories out, you know, being 185 pounds. I knew, okay, I'm going to need about 6,000 calories with what I'm doing, give or take, you know. I had borrowed a pedometer from my sister when I first started there, just to see how long I was going. So I was doing about half marathon worth of walking every single day, pushing these carts and everything. And because of my digestive system, you know, if you try to eat chicken, broccoli, all these brown rice and stuff, while you're doing this, I felt like puking, and my brain fog would get worse because you're trying to digest and do this physical activity. It would be like going to the gym, sitting there eating, and then doing squats or whatever. You know, it's not the best thing for your digestive system. Compound that with the fact that my digestive system was already not doing well. So within the first 2 months I was there, I dropped from 185 down to 165, and I would run out of gas about 3 hours into my shift, which is pretty typical. You know, if you're on a typical bodybuilding thing, you usually eat about every 3 hours or so. And so I met a chiropractor, and he advised, you know, he was talking about, you know, healthy fats and things like that. And I always thought, got to keep those fats low, you know, they're going to make you fat, things like that. And that had actually been most of my life. I'd done that from the time I was in, you know, junior high, high school and stuff. Tried to eat a pretty lean diet. I think about the highest fat thing I'd eat is a peanut butter sandwich, or, you know, the milk that I'd pour in my cereal was at 2% milk. You know, rest of it was very lean. You know, so anyway, I decided, you know, from my research that, you know, when you're dieting down for a bodybuilding competition, you generally start cutting your calories back, and you don't want to cut your protein, so you start with the carbs first, and you start, you know, cutting back on carbs at each meal. And so I just decided that, okay, I need to maintain that protein, but I just got to wait. I can't be eating all this massive volume of food. And I'd read this book earlier talking about intermittent fasting, or it wasn't called intermittent fasting, but it was called The Warrior Diet by this man named Ori Hofmeckler. And he was an ex-Israeli special ops guy, right? And he talked about how when he was over there in the Middle East, he tried eating the multiple small meals during the day, but because of how physically active they were all day long doing their training in the special forces, he would feel that, digestive distress as well trying to do this. So he noticed that a lot of the locals, in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, all these places and stuff, they would not eat most of the day, maybe water, fruit or something like that, and then at night they'd eat one big meal, right? And he noticed that they were able to maintain, they weren't huge, they're usually pretty skinny guys, but able to maintain a very lean physique on this. And so he decided to try this, and yes, he was able to maintain himself at about 170 pounds, super lean, doing this diet. He'd fast all day, do a high intensity kind of like combat / weightlifting type of workout, and then followed it up with some high quality whey protein to stimulate what he calls there's this hormone mTOR, which when you go for a prolonged period of time without eating, you actually maximize protein absorption when you have that effect. And so he was able to maintain himself at 170 pounds on only 70 grams of protein a day, which if you look at, what is bare minimum, it's not going to maximize muscle growth or anything, but yeah, you can maintain yourself at 70 grams of protein. And he's like, I felt much more energy during the day once you adjust to not being hungry and stuff, because now your body switches over, it's burning whatever you ate the night before, and your blood sugar stabilizes, and your mind clears because you don't have blood going down to the digestive system, it's up in your brain. So I remembered that, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to try this. So in his book, he talked about, you have this protein thing, then you get washed up and everything, then you have your meal. And he's like, you start with the most basic things. You start with raw vegetables, then cooked vegetables, then you have your meats. And then he would switch between, fats or, starchy carbohydrates as his fuel, just to get used to eating both of those things. Now, for me personally, having just straight up protein by itself, I would feel like I get brain fog, especially after fasting a long time. So it actually worked better for me to have protein and fat together. So something like whole eggs, or a couple whole eggs, and then mixing a can of tuna with an omelet or something like that, and have my vegetables and put it all together. That actually worked better for me. But fasting during that time, I'd wait until I was hungry enough to eat just straight up protein, because you can after about 3 hours, you're gonna feel like, oh yeah, I could go eat, a bowl of cereal, or I could go eat some rice or a sandwich or something like that, because the carbs have burned off now, like that. But I would wait because the first thing your body wants to use for fuel is carbohydrates. The second thing your body wants to use for fuel is fat, and the third thing your body ends up using as a last resort is protein. So I knew when I was hungry enough to eat just protein, at least this was my theory, that I was at that point where I really needed to eat. So I tried this out. And what happened was, at first, I felt really hungry. Obviously, I actually felt so hungry that I felt like my intestines were ripping out, but I was at the last straw. I didn't want to lose this job, so I'm like, you know what? I gotta work really hard and make sure I'm staying up on time, getting things done, even though I'm feeling sick and everything. And if I'm not eating anything, at least I don't feel digestive distress like I do most of the time after I eat. So what happened is that I go and you'd feel a little bit tired, and then all of a sudden you have a second wind, and you'd feel like about 3 hours in, you'd be like, oh, I'm real hungry, and then you go a little bit farther, and all of a sudden you get this super charge of energy, which I recalled from when I was a long distance runner. You usually eat when you are starting to get go out and run when you're just starting to get hungry, because whatever you ate before has already been is out of your. When you get hungry, it means it's out of your stomach, and now it's in your digestive. Now it's into your muscles and ready to be used. So I get this energy for about an hour or two. And then when that would subside and you just start you'd feel really alert mentally, but your body would just kind of like a car sputtering to stop. Then I would go and take my break. And usually that worked out pretty perfectly, because it would usually be about 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours before they'd allow me to have a break. It really depended on how busy the store was at the time. If it was really busy, you can't just go and take a break, at least according to them. So I'd go and take my break, and I would start with the protein. I'd have, maybe some nuts or something like that, or avocado or whatever. And then I'd have my vegetables. And, if I was really hungry, maybe I might add some chips or some rice or some, and some other form of starchy carb or a banana on top of that. And what I notice is that when I'd have that, I would get like super amount of energy just because I've been so depleted. So it's like your body's like a sponge and it dried out. Boom. Now you put that food back in there and it absorbs it like a sponge, which is why a lot of times people will diet down for a show and they get really depleted. Then they go back to normal eating and they'll add a bunch of muscle, you know, and not so much fat, you know, providing they're not overdoing it and eating crap food, just because their body becomes more sensitive to what it's putting in there. So, you know, he's talking about, or Greg in the video, talking about that, you know, when you are skipping breakfast, because I used to actually train first thing in the morning, and, you know, on an empty stomach, and then eat something after I got done training, and then I'd work all day, and then maybe eat something at night, but usually I'd wait until the morning after my training to eat. And he says, you're missing all these opportunities to maximize, you know, muscle protein synthesis. And yes, I agree that research does show that every time you eat protein, you're spiking muscle protein synthesis. And so theoretically, if you eat more times per day, you're going to maximize that more times. But the funny thing was that I noticed from my personal experience, I dropped down to 165, and then without increasing my calories at all, my calories remained around, now granted before I had done this, I'd been eating about 3,500 calories a day, but over the next couple years, I got up to 210 pounds, and my body fat percentage actually dropped, as well as getting bigger at the same time. So not only was I not shrinking, you know, so initially I shrunk, then my body adapted, and then I actually got way bigger. My mental clarity was awesome. You know, it was better than it had ever been. If I had been homeschooled as a kid, if I had been put in public school, I probably would have been put on Ritalin because I had such bad ADD and stuff like that. But the combination of fats, vegetables, plenty of water, fasting actually helped. And that's the reason why I did the fasting. I didn't do it to maximize physique potential, athletic performance, or anything like that. I did it to maintain mental clarity and to get myself out of the situation that I was in. And it did all those things for me. And at the same time, I actually, you know, ended up, you know, getting pretty good as well. You know, I'd do the 13 miles of cart pushing. I'd do my workout, and in my workouts, you know, like for example, a chest and shoulder workout, you know, that I would do, lifting a total of 24,000 pounds on next to no calories, and also doing an extreme amount of stuff, and I was able to do that. So that's where I find that it really depends on your lifestyle. Now I don't do that as much. During the week, I'm extremely busy, you know, working 12, 16-hour days and stuff. You get tired, you feel like falling asleep, so I tend to fast during most of that time because it keeps me more alert, even when I'm tired. And then during the weekend, I go back to eating a little bit more normal, and you know, eating whenever I feel hungry, eating balanced, you know, meals and stuff during the weekend, and then I go back to it. And so that works pretty good for me. So I think the chief benefit of the intermittent fasting is if you are a person who's extremely busy, don't have a very hectic, stressful lifestyle or something like that, or you have very carb sensitive and you feel like falling asleep every time you have carbs, or you're low on sleep, the intermittent fasting, like say college students or something like that, the intermittent fasting can be beneficial. Now, where I agree with Greg in the video is that yes, you don't want to be going, okay, I fasted all day, and now because I fasted, I can go and eat junk food and stuff because I burned fat all day. No, that's how a lot of people do that. And that's how a lot of people get really fat, is because they'll go and fast and they'll combine a bunch of carbs and fat together, pizza, you know, popcorns, or eat a bunch of donuts or whatever after this long fast because they're so hungry, right? And then you're going to get the double effect of the, and I forget the exact name of it, but there is a, I don't know if it's lipoprotein lipase or whatever, but fat also has a insulin-like hormone. It's not as powerful as insulin that you get from carbohydrates and protein, but it will also maximize that. So if you add carbs and fat together, you're going to be getting a double whammy of that. Plus, if you haven't eaten all day, you tend to not have as much discretion, although sometimes your stomach can shrink a little bit, and especially if you gradually go into the fasting thing and start gradually cutting back how much you do during the day. It's not advised to just not eat anything all day, because you're going to get home and you're going to be just ravenously hungry, right? Gradually do it, you know, and see how it works for you. But if you break the fast by eating regular health food, prioritize eating protein first for muscle protein synthesis, then have, you know, your most nutritious foods, you know, your vegetables, you know, for me, I find having some fats and stuff works good for me. Lots of carbs makes me kind of, you know, brain fog and stuff, and not focused, so I like the fats. And, you know, maybe if before I'm doing some training, I'll add some carbs in there, because yes, carbs are good for ATP production. You're going to be able to do high intensity sprinting. There's no question about it. Research shows that carbs are going to maximize your ability for sprinting and heavy, high intensity weightlifting and things like that. So no questions about that. But that's just my thoughts on this. From my experience, I've done, you know, both the traditional bodybuilding model, saw great body composition results from that. And I've also done the intermittent fasting / lower carbohydrate dieting as well, and seen great results from that, as it really comes down to what is your lifestyle like, and you know, what works best for your body. Experiment a little bit. It's never a good idea to just go and eat junk just in the name of, oh, I can do it because I didn't eat anything like that. No, always try to eat whole, natural foods in a relative balance, but it's going to be unique from person to person. So, super long video. There was a couple other things I wanted to say, but you know, I didn't write notes down before I did this video. I just kind of went off the cuff with it. And let me know what you think in the comments below. If you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Functional Aesthetics EC. And we'll see you all next time for more health and fitness related information. Thanks guys for watching. Talk to you later.